You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News for January the 15th. You're live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. Good morning, Rev Cindy. How you doing?
Good morning, Al. I'm well, and how are you?
I'm not doing too bad. I know I'm going to be sore later when I'm done shoveling the snow that's still falling out of the sky.
Yeah, well, we're getting it as rain, so I'm not necessarily completely upset about that.
Yes, exactly. You don't have to shovel that stuff, do you? Oh, no. Now, are they predicting any rain or snow for you tonight? You've got an event going on.
We do. We have rain heavy all day, but then or all morning. It's supposed to dissipate by mid-afternoon and then turn to fog and like a little bit of rain. So I should be okay driving.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And talking about that event.
And speaking of that event, yes, tonight in Halifax, if you are in Halifax, come on down to the Halifax Regional Library, the BMO room. So we're up on the second floor. Tonight we have Michael Garrison as part of the speaker series, and he's speaking about psychedelics and palliative care in Canada. Michael is a registered nurse. He works in palliative care, and he has studied the VITAL program, graduating recently. And this is a passion of his to bring psychedelics into palliative care, focusing on psilocybin. So Michael is going to be speaking about that, legalities, the SAP program this evening. It also will be going out via Zoom. So if you go to the Nova Scotia Psychedelic Society page on Facebook, you can get a hold of the Zoom link there. It will be recorded, and we will be rebroadcasting it here on the PACE network at some point in time as well.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Look forward to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great that this series is there, for people to be able to get educated, because there's a lot of people who need to learn more about psychedelics.
Yeah, and it's I think it's an important field, palliative care. We've seen it through documentaries such as Dosed 2. We followed a lady who had cancer, was given a very short timeline, and she faced her fears using psilocybin. She also fought the cancer using FICO oil. And this was a few years ago, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago. It's been a while. It's been years now since this documentary was filmed, and she was expected to have passed before it aired. And I'm very happy to report this woman is still living.
All right. Good stuff. Yeah. All right. See, power in psychedelics, right?
Power of psychedelics and cannabis oil. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. All right, so today, just so you know, everybody knows, our viewers know, we're going to try a little bit different format today. So today could be full of bloopers, could be a blooper reel day, who knows?
It could be.
Things could go smooth. We haven't got a clue. So let us know how we make that in the end. All right, so what do you say? Oh, before I say that, don't forget, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you like and enjoy what you're hearing and seeing during the broadcast. All right. So, Cindy.
Okay. Yeah.
So we get started. All right.
We shall give this a go.
Okay. Here we go.
Coming to us today from Marijuana Moment. Canadian support for marijuana cannabis legalization is increasing. Woohoo! This is coming from a new poll. It's been 8 years since Canada legalized cannabis nationwide, and a new poll shows that support for the reform is increasing over time. Relatively few Canadians want to legalize other drugs or medicines, however. Roughly 2/3 of Canadian adults, about 65% of us, now say that they agree with cannabis being legal. And this is according to a survey done by research company. And that's up 3 percentage points since last year. Just 29% of respondents disagree with cannabis legalization. 6% say they're not sure how they feel about the reform. But despite growing majority support for legal cannabis, only a minority of Canadians support legalizing other medicines such as MDMA or other drugs such as cocaine or crack cocaine or meth and heroin and fentanyl. Nobody's really looking to legalize those. And a survey released last year is also showing that a majority of Canadians feel that the cannabis sector that's emerged since cannabis was legalized nationwide is an important contributor to the country's economy. They see the growing cannabis field as a wonderful way to gather funds that are much needed for many other programs that are run in the country. What do you think, Al?
Well, I'm glad to see that the percentage is going up. As far as the other drugs end of things, some of those other drugs could be psychedelics that people are finding beneficial now. And
such as the MDMA that they did mention.
Correct. Exactly. So those numbers could change over time as more and more people get educated when it comes to psychedelics.
Yeah, and the other drugs, the other street drugs that they mentioned, legalization is a very taboo subject around those, but safe supply, I think, is a better way of looking at it. Fentanyl is a very addictive and very fatal drug. And if we could somehow regulate a safe supply, I think that would go a long way with helping people get off of the drugs altogether and move towards safer medicines.
It brings people in as far as, brings them closer to society and to the people who can help.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, very much so.
Yeah. Okay. From that story, we're going to move on to the next one. And this one is coming to us from the Business of Cannabis publication. And it says the Republican lawmakers openly defy Trump on cannabis rescheduling. The article says that as the excitement around President Donald Trump's executive order to push forward with cannabis rescheduling and cannabis rescheduling has faded as far as the news end of things, the bill is now facing a much harsher reality. Just 3 weeks ago, after Trump signed an executive order directing federal agencies to reclassify cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, major opposition from within Trump's usually loyal Republican Party has emerged, while state action and refusal from institutional players also served to dampen the palatable feeling of optimism felt over the Christmas break. Now, a coalition of 48 Republican lawmakers, including House Speaker Mike Johnson and all 4 Senate Republican leaders, openly defy Trump's decision in letters urging him not to proceed. Elsewhere, state-level campaigns in Maine, Massachusetts, and Arizona are pushing ballot initiatives to repeal existing legislation laws. Clip that. Meanwhile, a Congressional Research Service report published on January the 2nd reveals that even if rescheduling proceeds, most criminal penalties and collateral consequences affecting employment, gun ownership, federal benefits, and immigration status would remain. Now, they say that reclassifying cannabis as a Schedule 3 drug will send the wrong message to American children, enable drug cartels, and make our roads more dangerous, the House Republicans wrote. And they described it as a rare rebuke of the president from his rare flank. Now, procedural uncertainty remains despite Trump's directive. The DEA said on January 6th that the cannabis rescheduling appeal process remains pending, despite the executive order, and the Justice Department could have potentially restart the process entirely. There you go. if they're talking about, he's talking about wanting to get it out there, make it available, especially for patients. He's talking about on the medical end of things. But then here's his own party that is against even that.
Yeah, I'm getting flashbacks of the Safer Banking Act, really. Again and again and again, and it's it's kind of crazy. It's like they're not even looking at what's happening in the rest of the world. We're always doing stats, and we're always looking at surveys here in Canada, and these things have shown that kids under the age of 21 using cannabis has gone down. And the illegalities about it have gone down. Their big fight right now is with Indigenous dispensaries here in Canada, which I think is a different fight than this. Our surveys are showing that no matter what, everything is actually balancing out, and I think that has to do a lot with education, right? And I'm just sad that they're not looking at other countries and what's going on elsewhere.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
All righty. On to the next story.
The next story is coming to us from the National Institute on Drug Abuse. Could psychedelics harness neuroplasticity to treat addiction and other mental illnesses? Well, I'm going to tell you that I'm walking, talking proof that it can. The potential use of psychedelics in the treatment of various mental health conditions has made these medicines a hot area of scientific research, as well as growing public interest. A variant of ketamine called esketamine is already FDA approved and utilized for treatment-resistant depression, and the FDA has designed formulations of psilocybin and MDMA for the treatment of depression and PTSD, respectively, as breakthrough therapies, which is a process designed to expedite their development and review. NIDA is actively funding research on these compounds as they represent a potential shift in the way that we address substance use disorders. The promise of psychedelic compounds likely centers at their ability to promote a rapid neural rewiring. Recent preclinical studies have suggested that neuroplastogen properties of psilocybin, for example, may have to do with its ability to bind to the 5-HT2A, which is our serotonin receptors inside neurons, something that serotonin itself cannot do. And the rewiring may explain these compounds' relative long-lasting effects, even with just one or a few administrations. Some trials have found effects lasting weeks. And smaller studies, are suggestive of much longer durations, actually. And the potential use of psychedelics in treating addiction goes back several decades, actually. In the late 1950s, Bill Wilson, who was the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, this is really kind of cool, participated in LSD experiments and encouraged further research on whether psychedelics could be useful in helping people recover from alcohol addiction. He was quoted as saying, it helps with step 12, which is the spiritual, accepting spiritual relevance. He believes it helps them to connect with spirit. And since then, there have been many anecdotal reports of people being beating substance use disorders using psychedelics, and experimental studies are lending some support to those claims, especially for alcohol use disorder. There are still many challenges with this, and one of them is placebos. How can we introduce a placebo for that kind of study? How can we mimic the effects without actually giving the psychedelic? And of course, there's a Schedule 1 status, especially in the United States, that they're fighting against. As well as looking after the patients, creating the proper set and settings and having the proper people there to help these folks during their journey. All in all, I think, Al, that this is a very interesting look at this story. I love the fact that they brought in, a conversation about Bill Wilson, who is the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, and his support of LSD in helping with Step 12.
The placebo concern, I've heard that a couple times now. in some of the stories that we've done over time. It makes sense. How do you mimic?
Yeah, you know, like if
you're gonna know
you
it.
know that you're supposed to have some sort of hallucinogenic or kind of weird effect, how can you mimic that without giving them the actual medicine? And I'm not sure if there is a way or not.
Yeah, exactly. And that's basically the standard way that they've been able to test other medicines.
Yeah, is the whole comparison. Like they have done some studies, unfortunately without that control group, that are still showing really beautiful results. And I think that that's something that we need to consider. If we can't do a control group, we can still watch the effects.
Yeah, exactly. All righty. From that story, we're going to move on to a story that comes to us from StratCan. And on that one, the headline says that new cannabis consumer survey compares legal purchases by age, location, and ethnic background, as well as party. The story says that new polling from Research Co. explores Canadian support for cannabis legalization, as well as purchasing habits among consumers, broken down by age, location, party affiliation, gender, and ethnicity. The results also compare against similar polling conducted in 2024. Of those respondents who said that they had consumed cannabis since it was legalized in 2018, nearly half, which is 48%, said they acquired all of their cannabis at a licensed retailer. Another 17% said most was acquired at a licensed retailer, while 13% said some, and 16% said none was. Another 6% preferred not to disclose the source of their cannabis. Now, in total, 70% of the respondents who said that they had used cannabis at some point since October of 2018 had purchased at least some of their cannabis from the legal market. This is similar to the federal government's own polling on the issue, which showed the number of people who reported getting their cannabis from a legal source in the first half of 2024 was about 72%. Those aged 55 and older were most likely than other age groups to say that they had acquired all of their cannabis at a licensed retailer, but were also more likely to say none of their cannabis has been acquired from a licensed store. Now, those in BC and Quebec were the least likely to say that they had purchased all of their cannabis at a legal store, compared with the Atlantic Canada and Alberta. Saskatchewan, with Manitoba, and Ontario, they were at 52 and 49% respectively. Still, only 17% of those in BC and Quebec said that they purchased none of their cannabis from a licensed store, compared to 13% in Alberta and 15% in the Prairie, 17% in Ontario, and 9% in Atlantic Canada. Now, the poll also asked if people supported the legalization of other drugs, which we touched on a bit in an earlier story. And we have a bit of an idea on where people feel there, so I'm not going to get going through all that. But support for legalization of other drugs, they say, was slightly higher among younger Canadians than among older Canadians. And as Cindy, as you know, with the cannabis end of things, it was similar to that, where it was the older people that were against cannabis use, and it was the younger people who were. And then eventually, as people got older and things shifted, now look where the paradigm is, right?
Yeah. Well, I think right now too, as well as like some of those were illicit drugs that were talked about at the end of that story. And I think right now, the growing community, the kids that are growing up from millennials down, really, they see that and they want to do something about that. And they're watching their friends, end up homeless or on the streets or dead due to a lot of these drugs. And they see, they watch us with cannabis, and they see that, well, maybe if we stop shaming people, they won't feel as scared to come forward. And, they're watching fentanyl kill their friends, and car fentanyl kill even more friends. And benzos and tranks coming into all of this stuff. And yeah, and they're saying what we need is a safe supply so these folks can at least be safe until they're ready to walk out of addiction. And it was our generation that really brought forth the fact that addiction is medical, not legal.
Yeah.
And I think that as we go further on with the generations, people are seeing this more, and I have faith in our younger generations to help that population.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, it's time for us to take a break. We got 4 more stories when we get back afterwards. So you're watching Psychedelics Cannabis Education News right here at 420pace.ca and paceradio.net.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario.
What do you find at paceradio.net? People advocating cannabis education.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
Rerolled Saturdays. Check it out. Nothing but non-stop cannabis and psychedelic programming. Find it at 420pace.ca.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
Hey, we're back from our break. And as I mentioned beforehand, we got 4 more stories to go. What do you say, Cindy?
Let's get it up.
All right, let's go.
Let's go. Okay, coming to us now from International Cannabis Business Conference. German Hemp Association warns against medical cannabis regression. Pardon me. As cannabis opponents in Germany continue to try to take the country's medical cannabis laws and regulations backwards, the German Hemp Association, the DHV, has issued a public warning on the eve of a hearing in the Health Committee of Bernstag. Below are the changes being brought forth by Health Minister Worken. Online prescriptions for cannabis flowers are no longer accepted. Prescriptions must be issued by local doctors, and repeat prescriptions require a physical visit to a doctor every 4 quarters. Wow. Shipping of cannabis flower by online pharmacies is no longer possible. Only in-store pickup at a pharmacy or delivery by their courier is available. In a statement published today, the German Hemp Association criticizes, and this was 2 days ago actually, criticizes the federal government's plans to tighten regulations on telemedicine prescriptions from medicinal cannabis and to ban the shipment of cannabis flower, calling them a step backward in terms of planned digitalization of the healthcare symptoms. DHV wrote in a news release, and this has been translated, the draft legislation is in its current form would significantly restrict access to medicinal cannabis, as there are several shortage of appropriately specialized doctors in Germany. So like a physical visit isn't really able for everybody. A ban on the shipment of cannabis flower would mean additional costs for patients obtaining their medication and would particularly discriminate against people with limited mobility in rural areas where the delivery from the pharmacy is not possible. The German Hemp Association, Hemperverband, argues that the observed significant increase in private prescriptions compared to prescriptions covered by statutory health insurance in recent years is not a sign of potential misuse, but rather a clear indication that the hurdles for insurance coverage of cannabis therapy are still too high. Doctors fear potential financial penalties, and as a consequence, patients have to pay for their medication themselves. Furthermore, many general practitioners and pharmacists are overwhelmed by the hundreds of different medicinal cannabis strains. Specialized physicians and mail order pharmacies, on the other hand, have a better ability to best possibly individually tailor cannabis therapy for each patient. The current draft legislation would therefore significantly restrict not only access, but also the quality of care, they've added. If legislatures want to prevent the potential misuse of medicinal cannabis, they should not be achieved by worsening access to medical care, but rather making it easier for adults to obtain cannabis for recreational use. To this end, the conditions for cultivation associations must be improved and their excess bureaucracy reduced. Furthermore, the legal distribution of cannabis should be explored through the pilot projects. Numerous German municipalities have already submitted applications for such projects. These simply need to be approved. Without these measures, the planned tightening of access to medicinal cannabis will ultimately only strengthen the black market. The hearing apparently was broadcasted live, although I didn't get a chance to see it, and I haven't seen an update about it yet myself. What do you think about those strudels?
My first reaction is, what? Tightening the controls over the patient's access to medicinal cannabis is not something that I agree with, obviously.
No.
Did they point out any serious abuse? Of course, access. If the access is better and the coverage is better, then yeah, more people are going to use it. So are they saying that because more people are using it, that it's being abused?
Yeah, that's what they're getting at. There was such an influx of people. Well, of course, when you first started up, people who need this medicine are going to be like jumping on it. Straight up, they're going to be like, yes, finally, let's go, let's do it. Here's my medicine. I can finally feel like I'm, pain-free and anxiety-free, and I can move forward and do things, and I can do it legally without repercussions, which is huge for a patient, let me tell you. And so I like that the hemp supporters, these people that are representing the plant, are stepping forward and saying,
Yeah, I agree with you.
Right. If you only have 5, Germany's not a small country. If you only have 4 or 5 physicians who are qualified to do this, and I live a 5-hour drive away from the closest one, that's just too much.
Well, Tamara here on the network, she came all the way from Alberta years ago, from Alberta to Ontario, so she could find a doctor to sign her paperwork.
Yep.
Yeah, and the telehealth.
And then back then, we had a doctor here in Nova Scotia that was signing paperwork, but he got harassed by the RCMP.
Yeah,
kind of what's going on here, but just different, right?
It mentioned the doctors are worried about fines, and all you got to do is look at here in Ontario. We had the cameraman situation.
Yeah,
they eventually took his license away from him, and as he said, I wouldn't have to sign all these papers if other doctors signed them.
Yes. Yeah, sadly, the gentleman here in Nova Scotia, they scared him pretty well, and he just stopped altogether. He wouldn't even talk about cannabis for years. Even today, now that it's legalized, he's got PTSD from it, right? So he's kind of like,
Yeah, exactly. Scare them off, right? So, not good, not good. Well, hopefully they can get things straightened around there. That hemp association can get things improved for patients. So
here's hoping.
that's right. All right, on to our next story. Here we go. This one comes to us from the Marijuana Moment, and the headline on that one says, "Which states are most likely to legalize cannabis in 2026?" Now, at the start of the year, or start of another new year, advocates and lawmakers are again eyeing recreational and medical cannabis legalization opportunities in states across the country. This time, however, the momentum for cannabis reform at the local level comes amid pending federal rescheduling process. Nearly half of the states in the U.S. have enacted adult use legalization, and the vast majority of the states allow some form of medical cannabis access for qualified patients. But the push for further reform isn't letting up. Now, in 2026, with advocates targeting states across the country, from New Hampshire to Hawaii and several in between. Now, here are a list of those states. We'll find out over time, but these are the ones that could possibly legalize it recreationally: Florida, Hawaii, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, and Virginia. Now, for medical purposes, include states such as Idaho, Kansas, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Wisconsin. Now, this category really sucks. Cannabis legalization rollback initiatives. This is proving a point that some people don't catch. Just because your state or your country has legalized cannabis, it doesn't mean it can't be rolled back and be made illegal again. Examples here that they have: Arizona, Maine, Massachusetts, and Ohio. These are people that have voted on it. Could be initiatives done through state legislation, voted by the people, wanting to be done, and now the lawmakers are looking to remove cannabis legalization from their states. Like, that's just crazy. What do you think, Cindy?
My jaw dropped when you got to that last section, straight up. Travel to the States for Canadians right now is tumultuous, even more so for somebody who uses cannabis as medicine. So to see the rollbacks is very disheartening. Like, it's very sad to see. And you're right. Like, I mean, we've seen this as well in Thailand, some of the rollbacks.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see this happening straight up. We've come so far forward with this plant, and to see anybody trying to roll it back, it's kind of like taking the rug of all of our hard work and yanking it out from underneath us.
Especially when some of those reforms are because of advocacy and forced it to be done as a referendum in their states, and the people voted for it. And then the lawmakers go turn around and say, yeah, okay. And then they just dismantle.
Yeah. Over something that is creator given to us. Like, these are medicines that have been used for a millennia by our ancestors to heal and to be healthy. And the fact that our governments would rather see us sick and ill and malnutrition, it's just hard to see. And I'm just absolutely beyond shocked that here in 2026, this kind of thing is still happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And unfortunately, it's going to continue. So, all righty. Next story. Coming to us from the Hemp Gazette. This one kind of caught my eye. I thought it was kind of neat. Hemp roots have cancer research value. Years ago, somebody gave me their hemp roots and asked if I could do something with them, and I ground them into a powder, and we added them to flour and made bread, and it was amazing. Every part of the cannabis plant is useful, including the roots,
And the U.S. Department of Agriculture Research Services, the ARS, has redefined the value of these roots, indicating opportunities for farmers and the pharmaceutical industry. The industrial hemp plant has deep taproot system and develops into a vast fibrous network of lateral roots. The roots help break up the hard soil. They can suck up the contaminants, keep them from the plant, such as heavy metals, forever chemicals, and help them be flushed from the plant and the soil. They also can act as a fertilizer post-cropping. A research chemist with the National Center of Agricultural Utilization Research in Peoria, Illinois, Dr. Corey Brownstein, he noticed an unfamiliar substance appearing in his chemical analysis of hemp roots that led him and his team to look more into the structure. The substances were found to consist of 4 compounds, the first time such molecules have ever been isolated from hemp roots. The researchers thought the discovery was important enough that 3 years were spent on complex and increasingly difficult isolation and purification of what is in the hemp root. After collaborating with scientists, at the University of Illinois College of Medicine, these molecules showed moderate activity in killing pediatric cancer cells in a laboratory setting. They quote from the ARS team, refining and understanding the effect of this molecule on pediatric cancers will open new alternatives for children's cancers that are unresponsive to current therapies. The discovery could offer industrial hemp growers a potential new source of revenue from the plant, and it could offer a potential new source of healing for us humans. Brownstein says, if we treat hemp as a multi-use crop, we can expand its applications, and market. It's not just paper, grain, fiber. It is now potentially pharmaceutical compounds from the roots. The team is now moving on to scaling up the compound extraction for larger, more controlled functional studies. I think that's really exciting, aiming to investigate a wide range of cancer cell lines in greater depth to access the therapeutic potential of these roots. And that's just really kind of exciting stuff. I don't know about you, Al, but that made me happy.
That's awesome stuff. And not only is it awesome, but it is also research that pinpoints what cannabis growers have been saying. A lot of people have said about the medicinal benefits of the roots.
Yeah.
And here's the research saying that, it can help with killing cancer cells from the roots.
From the roots. And it explains a little bit why. I mean, these roots and what they do for the plant and how they work to, stop all of these toxins to go in. Why wouldn't those roots go into our body and soak that up as well and expel it?
Yeah, exactly. So no, that's great. That's good news. Excuse me. I'll have to when I harvest next fall, gonna look at things a little different.
Yeah, things you can do with your roots.
What can you do with my roots? I could just, the process of harvesting the roots, I guess it depends on how far you want to follow your roots for, I guess
what they did is they pulled the roots, the people that I made the flour for, and they cleaned them so there was no dirt. And then they dried them. And once they were dried, I used a grinder to grind it into a powder and mixed it with flour. And the bread turned out phenomenal.
Great. So basically using the root ball.
Yep.
No. Makes sense that way. Okay. That's good. Good information. All right. From that, we're moving on to our last story of the day. And this story comes to us from StratCan. And the headline there says that Aurora Cannabis shares progress in disease resistance research. Yes, exactly. Disease resistance research. Aurora Cannabis Inc. has announced progress in its powdery mildew resistance research, nearly 1 year after the company's breakthrough discovery of a novel source of genetic resistance against powdery mildew. They're calling it PM2. Now, since the initial discovery shared in February 2025, Aurora now reports it has conducted multiple rounds of crosses to transfer PM2 resistance into elite breeding lines. The research involves testing of breeding populations through controlled infection trials under disease pressure, and then validating the durability and effectiveness of PM2 resistance. These trials help to ensure that disease resistance is integrated into high-performing genetics without compromising quality traits that Aurora says are critical to patients and consumers. The company has recently shared its research at several scientific and industry conferences, including Plant and Animal Genome Conference, the Canadian Society for Horticultural Science and Canadian Society of Agronomy 2025 Conference, the 4th Annual Cannabis Scientific Symposium at the McGill University Research Center for Cannabis, and the PhotoX Conference. Now, the priority genetic marker technology behind PM2 was developed by scientists at Aurora Coast in the Comox Valley on Vancouver Island. The company's research and development facility, which hosts the Oka Research Center, and builds on previous Aurora's collaboration with researchers at the University of British Columbia, and from research funding from Genome British Columbia. Now, the program was first announced in 2020 as part of a more than $4.2 million in federal, provincial, and industry funding to support the UBC research on enhanced cannabis cultivars with a focus on disease resistance. If the trials are successful, the company plans to consider commercializing PM resistance cultivars later this year, which it expects will protect plant health, reduce operational costs, and improve product quality. Now, they say that this intellectual property is currently patent pending in several countries, and that includes Canada, the United States, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, as well as Israel. So there you go. They're trying to create a PM resistant strain. And Cindy, I'm sure there's a lot of people who like the idea of having cannabis without fears of powdery mildew.
Ooh, well, here in Nova Scotia and the Atlantic provinces as well. Yeah, it's damp here. So the growing of this stuff is it gets hard. Like, I mean, and it starts with a lot of powdery mildew, and that can lead into other molds and bud rot, and people lose, part or all of their crops on a regular here. The last 3 or 4 years have been pure hell for trying to grow here in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, it's been, yeah. It's, and there's some strains that just seem to be susceptible to it that I have found. And they said commercialized. I could see first they're obviously going to make it so that they would be available to other commercial businesses, other licensed producers selling their technology to them. Maybe in due time they would be those strains could be available as seeds and clones to the general public.
Would be beautiful.
Yep. Now, would there be a concern that people would think it's GMO?
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure that we will have our non-scientists, play with it and do things and check it out when it's available to us. And
I think they call that Frankenweed.
Frankenweed?
Frankenweed, yeah. Short form off of Frankenstein, right? But yeah, I guess it's just a matter of time. I remember when they first talked about that. I remember reporting on it, and so see where they've gotten to in this amount of time that they've got something started there.
So one of the what came to my mind, nothing to do with the story, but yet it's another one of those Frankenweeds that 2 years ago now, just over 2 years ago, at one of the conferences you were at, there was a no smell cannabis.
Yes.
And we've never heard anything else about it since. No, that's right. Yeah, that I spoke to them at 2 places, and the smoke-free cannabis, smell-free. It was just wow. But I never, even the samples that were in the sample bags, all it was literature. There was no sample in it. So the technology hasn't
made it out to the market yet on that end.
No, they must have thought they were way more ahead than what they actually were to show up at a couple of conferences. But yeah, I've been looking for it. Every once in a while, it pops into my head, and I go searching for it. And it's still not there yet.
Well, not there. No, exactly. And that'd be the same thing, frankenweed.
Yep, frankenweed.
And how it affects it otherwise, it improves its resistance against powdery mildew. But what are the other things that it might be dealing with?
Yep.
So, I guess they always think, does it affect the terpenes and the THC? The important things that it's important for patients.
Yep.
Right. So, but we'll find out as time goes on. All right. Anything else you want to remind everybody?
I just want to bring up this one more time. If you are in Halifax, come on down to the Halifax Regional Library or close. I'm coming from Windsor, so it's not that far of a drive. Come on down to the Halifax Regional Library, second floor BMO room. Nova Scotia Psychedelic Society is presenting our fourth speech in the speaker series. Tonight is coming from Michael Garrison. He is talking about psychedelics and palliative care in Canada. Very interesting subject. I'm very excited to hear what he has to say. This will be going out live over Zoom. You can find the link on the Nova Scotia Psychedelic Society Facebook page. And I'm sure that we will be playing it here at paceradio.net.
Yes, we will be afterwards. And the fact that it's available on Zoom and online is great for people, especially, weather-wise. Like I know you talked about fog earlier. You just never know.
And weather-wise, people that can't make it out, people that are bedridden, home-ridden, it's there for everybody. People in Ontario and BC, everybody can participate.
You're speaking to more than that crowd that's in front of you. You're speaking to the world because internet is worldwide, right?
It is.
Okay. Other than that, done for the day.
Done for the day.
Done for the day. That's it. As Cindy says, we hope you found it informative and educational. Thanks go out for you guys, for all of you, for tuning into the broadcast, and to our sponsors, Limestone, Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, as well as at ease.ca. We will see you Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And as always, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.